Welcome to the Must See channel on YouTube. Welcome to Barnes Arcade. Today we're talking about physical media and why it will never come back like it was in the past. So stay tuned. Fatality to physical media. Had to change hats so cancel culture didn't come after me. The physical media versus digital media debate has been going on for a long time at this point. It is not anything new. I feel like I'm just beating a dead horse with this video, but we're gonna do it, and I have a little bit of a different take on this debate. Now, CEOs of companies and these big companies have researchers that go out and do their due diligence to check on the competition, to check on what people actually want. You think people don't read your comments, but I guarantee they do. Now, we can go out and try to buy physical media and not buy digital media and say, screw you to the digital market. And we are thinking that the digital market is overtaking because companies don't have to produce a physical disc, a physical cartridge, a box, artwork, and so on and so forth. And yeah, they don't have to, but is that a byproduct of what we as gamers have started doing? And this is where the industry has gone because of us? Have you ever thought of that? Okay, so back in the day, I know you're just thinking, oh, it's an old man talking about back in the day. Well, let's start with that. Back in the day, you had to go to an arcade to play your favorite game. Or maybe you just went to play and you found a favorite game because you were there and you pumped quarters into a machine and you played that game, you put a lot of money in it, and then you know, that's the only way you could play it. And then the companies came out and they said, hey, these people really like this. So can we make a system that they can take to their house and play on their own TV and sell them the system, sell them an arcade machine? And that's what they did, and it went well. And then they got involved with other companies that made games that they could play on that system. So that is where physical media, as we know of today, kind of comes into play. So when you got a game for your system, for your home system, you went to a store, you bought the game, or your parents got it for you for Christmas or a birthday or something, you played that game. And then they came out with a second version and a third version, and you fell in love with the characters, you fell in love with the storyline, you fell in love with a certain type of game. Maybe you're a fighting game fan, maybe you're an RPG fan, so on and so forth. And as time progressed, games got bigger, more detailed, they got better. I'm not sure if they're better now than they were then, because they've gotten to the point where they just want to make it as big of a game, as well known of characters to put in it. You know, Mario has done everything. Mario's like the Barbie doll of video games. You know, there's a Barbie doll. They have her doing every job you can think of, and that's kind of how they've done Mario. You know, he plays tennis, he plays golf, he parties, you know, he does all this stuff. So you fall in love with the characters, then they give you more of that character in a new setting, in a new version, in a new game. You know, you're used to Mario being a little plumber who goes along a thing and jumps into plumbing pipes and stuff and collects coins, and then he's playing golf and you're like, oh, I didn't know he could do that, but that was cool. And then you're in love with Mario, so you play all the games that they come out with. So then we move along in the timeline, and this isn't a new thing. The oldest thing I'm thinking of that has kind of changed the way people play games. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of World of Warcraft. So Warcraft was a game that was a real-time strategy game. It was a war game. It was like an army builder. And then they changed it to World of Warcraft, and you made a character, and then you have an open world to explore, and it doesn't really end. There's people that have gotten married because they found somebody in the game that they connected with, because you could physically talk to that person over the online. And that, when people got into that, it kind of consumed their lives. I mean, I've heard some horror stories from back in the day about that. There's a good documentary on Netflix that it's not a horror story. It's a guy who was physically handicapped, and he kind of escaped the world, the real world, with playing this game, World of Warcraft. And that's where he made his friends, and other people, came to know him that way, and he touched their lives positively through him. He was in a wheelchair. He couldn't physically go out and talk to people. And I can almost bet that someone like that, probably when they got into World of Warcraft, that's what they played. And if there's another game came out, they probably didn't even bother with it. And, there's stories like that from World of Warcraft. And then there's games like League of Legends, which is an online game. You get the game, and then it's a character upgrade thing. You go along. It's the same game over and over and over. It's a 5v5, capture the flag type of game. And you play that game, and you play it over and over and over, and it's the same game, but it's different outcomes, different teams. You're playing with other people, and that kind of took over. And when you're playing League of Legends or something like that, you put more of your time and effort into a game like that. And then if there's other games that come out, you might play a little bit of it, and you have fun getting away from what you're used to, but then you go back to League of Legends or World of Warcraft, something like that, and you're out. That is what you like. That's what you enjoy. And it's one game. You buy a game, and you upgrade throughout the course of however long you're playing it. You upgrade your characters, and you buy new characters and outfits and this and that and the other. And I kind of feel like that is where it's gone now, because we bought a PlayStation 5 for Christmas for my son. That's what he wanted. He really wanted that. So we got it for him, and he does play some other games, but there's one particular game that is just a constant. And I'm sure you can guess what that is. The mighty Fortnite. Now, there's nothing wrong with Fortnite, don't get me wrong. I played it some. It's the same game over and over and over. You battle, and then you can upgrade your characters, and, the same thing as World of Warcraft. You can buy outfits and guns and, whatever. But with this new generation, that's what they're growing up with. They're growing up with, you buy this one game. All your friends play this one game. You can play with all your friends. All your friends at school can play the same game. You can play at the same time. You don't have to. You can play with other people from around the world. And that's what they're growing up with. That's what they think video games are. You don't have to go to a store and buy different games, because this game is always going. There's celebrities that have skins that you can buy their skin in the game and be that person. And it's just a never-ending cycle of one game. So I almost feel like money was wasted on a PlayStation 5. because it's just one game. There are other games like Roblox. That was, I don't know if that was before Fortnite, but Roblox is games within a game. I kind of feel like Roblox is like a server. It's almost feels like Steam. Like you go to Steam and then you can pick out these different games to play, but it's all in Steam. And that's kind of how Roblox is. Like you have your Roblox, but then there's all these games and, you know, different things you can do within that whole setup. You can play different things, but it's one game. So these companies, they're seeing this and they're like, well, if we only have to sell them one thing and then they're going to continually upgrade their characters, their whatever within that one game, why make anything else? Why make physical games that's just going to sit on a shelf nobody's going to buy? It might be some collectors, some old dude collectors like myself that'll go pick them up and check them out. But the way games have gotten, you buy a game and then you constantly update it, upgrade it, and it's still the same thing, but it's its own world. So it's not just that companies don't have to physically manufacture stuff. That's, to me, I feel like that's a byproduct of what has happened. Like, why would they make discs and everything else if gamers that are playing today are only playing the one game, and, you know, they can still sell them a system. But then again, Microsoft is, I don't know what they're thinking right now, but Microsoft, we don't know if they're going to continue making systems because they're saying everything is an Xbox. You know, this hat is an Xbox, according to Microsoft. This dresser and but they're kind of ahead of the curve. Like, why make systems if people are only going to play one thing? You know, I also wonder if that's why Nintendo has not come out with the Switch 2 yet, because they're kind of waiting to see what the heck is going on with consumers and physical copies of stuff. Now, if anything makes sense to have a digital-only system, it would be the Nintendo Switch if they're going to make a second one, just because that's a handheld system. You can play it on the TV, but essentially it is a handheld system that you can carry with you. So having digital games that you download to that system makes sense because you have all your games wherever you go. But as a physical collector, and, you know, I'm an old school retro gamer, you know, I've got everything back from Atari 2600 and up. I like to physically have that game. It makes me feel good to know that I own that. Like, nobody can take that away from me, you know, unless I get robbed or the house burns down or some other tragedy, whatever. But the company cannot take that from me. I bought it. I play it on their system. They can shut the servers down all they want, but I can still play the game. I can't play it with friends, but I can still play the game. And unless they just make it as an online-only game, I remember there was a game that my cousin had in a yard sale, and he told me I could have it. I think it was Final Fantasy. I don't know what number it was, but I still had the system, and I was kind of excited because, you know, I played Final Fantasy. It's not my thing, but I played it, and I went to put it in the system. I can't remember which system it was, but it wouldn't even let me download it or play it or anything because that game specifically was an online-only game. So they can kill whatever they want, whenever they want, unless it's a good old cartridge game. But there are companies that are making physical media. it's not like dead. It's just kind of the big companies. And like I said, I wonder if my theory of being a Roblox, Fortnite, I don't know what else is out there, that type of game where somebody is addicted to that specific thing. And it's reflecting in sales and reflecting in other numbers, and that's what these companies are looking at. And it's not just people like me that want to go out and get the physical game. I mean, there are companies like Evercade who are making physical cartridges for their systems. They have arcade ones and console ones and old computer ones. Now, these aren't something they've created to sell a game that they have created or have other companies come in and make games for that system and then you can buy that. These is pretty much emulation. Like they're taking older companies, like this is a Data East Arcade 1 cart and it has all these games from the arcade back in the day on one cartridge. So I'm digging the Evercade thing. That's physical media. So they're continuing the legacy. There's homebrewers that are continuing the legacy. There's things like this. Now I consider this a physical media because it is a game on a little, however you want to play it. This one happens to be on a tiny arcade machine, but they make other things that plug into your TV. This one does not. They make the things that plug into your TV and you play that game on it. But this is like a physical media, I think, because this is Space Invaders and it has the controller on it. But it's one game, it's on this cool arcade thing, and that is a form of physical media. But as far as playing games on a PlayStation 5, an Xbox X, whatever new thing comes out, I really feel like it's going away. The physical games are going away. You know, they're seeing how computer gamers use Steam only. It is a service on a system that they've bought, and you just get all your games on that one service, and you don't have to like physically have anything. And if you forget your password for Steam and you've changed emails or something, and you've just lost everything. And it's just money going into their pocket. These fat cat billionaires, it's money going into their pocket, and they don't have to give you a thing. So, with all that being said, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking of my philosophy on this. And we're doing it to ourselves, partly. Now, these big companies, they're in control, but we're also telling them, here, have control.